Have you ever heard a sound that doesn't belong? A melody that feels ancient and alien all at once? Tonight, I want to tell you a story from the heart of the Ozarks, a place where reality is a bit thinner than elsewhere. It's a story about a single night, a night the hills themselves learned a new song. It all started on Bull Shoals Lake. The fog was thick that evening, rolling off the water like a living, breathing creature. It clung to the pines, muffling the world until the only sound was the steady, rhythmic pulse of the cicadas. And then, another sound joined them. It fell from the sky, clean and precise, a note of impossible mathematical beauty. Between the stars and the dark treetops, a silver craft unfolded itself. It was silent, like a held breath, a secret revealed in the deep woods. And from this craft stepped a being who called himself Zero Antarctica. You couldn't rightly call him a man. His skin shimmered like frost on an old vinyl record, and his fingers seemed to bend gravity itself, the way a master musician bends a string. He wasn't carrying a guitar or a fiddle. His instrument was something else entirely. It was a resonance engine, a device that could take a pure thought and translate it directly into melody. It hummed with a power that felt older than the mountains around it. At that very moment, deep in a busted-down shack not far from the lake, a rusted, forgotten radio crackled to life. A voice, smooth as aged whiskey, but staticky like a distant storm, filled the tiny room. "You're tuned to W. Bull," it whispered, broadcasting live from the other side of the veil. This was the voice of the Bull Shoals boogeyman. He was a local legend, a DJ who had died tangled in his own antenna wire decades ago. But death, it seems, hadn't silenced him. He was back on the air, a ghost in the machine. They say that every knob he turned, every frequency he dialed into, opened a thin place, a tier between our world and somewhere else. And down that long, winding gravel road that led to the lake, another figure was walking through the night. The Hillbilly Guitar Dude. His boots were covered in the dust of 100 forgotten paths. His beard was as wild as the woods he walked through, but his eyes were sharp, missing nothing. He wasn't just a singer. He was a collector of stories, a keeper of songs about things that most people try hard to forget. He was drawn by the strange new sound in the air, a pull he couldn't ignore. The three of them met in a small clearing right by the water's edge. The alien, the ghost, and the troubadour. There were no introductions, no words exchanged, none were needed. They were all there for the same reason, the music. Zero Antarctica struck the first note. It was a sound like starlight hitting dark water, a chord that seemed to contain the quiet cold of deep space. It hung in the air, perfect and pristine. Then, from the crackling static of the phantom radio, the boogeyman layered in a bass line. It wasn't made of notes, not really. It was woven from whispers, from old moonshine regrets, from the collective sorrow and joy of 100 years of mountain life. It was the sound of ghosts dancing. The troubadour, the hillbilly guitar dude, answered them both. He unslung his battered acoustic guitar, and his fingers found the steel strings. He sang with a gravel-throated voice, telling stories of floods that washed away towns, of lost loves and hard times, of the deep, dark soul of the Ozarks. His voice was the anchor, the human heart in this cosmic symphony. For one impossible, magical hour, that little clearing by Bull Shoals Lake in Arkansas became the absolute center of the universe. The music they made was like nothing anyone had ever heard before or will ever hear again. It was a blend of starlight and soil, of futuristic technology and ancient folklore, of otherworldly longing and deeply human grit. The music told the story of everything, from the birth of a star to the last beat of a human heart. It was a jam session for the soul of the cosmos. And then, as suddenly as it began, the final chord faded into the hum of the cicadas. The song was over. Zero Antarctica gave a slow nod, a gesture of profound respect. He turned and walked back to his silent silver craft. It folded itself back into a sliver of light and vanished into the star-dusted sky. The rusted radio hissed one last time and fell silent, the boogeyman's broadcast from the beyond ending its transmission. The connection was severed. The hillbilly guitar dude stood alone in the clearing for a long moment, the silence now feeling heavier than any sound. He slung his guitar over his shoulder, turned his back on the lake, and continued his walk down that long, dusty road, carrying the echo of the song with him. They say the song didn't really end that night. It couldn't. A melody that powerful doesn't just disappear. It sank into the ground, into the water, into the very bones of the hills. It became a part of the Ozarks. And even now, if you're out there late at night, far from the city lights, and you're fiddling with an old radio dial, you might get lucky. If you tune it just right, past the static and the faint country stations, you might hear it. A broadcast from nowhere. A piece of that impossible song, meant for everything and everyone. A reminder of the night an alien, a ghost, and a troubadour taught the Ozarks how to hum. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for another story from the strange and beautiful corners of our world. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales that lie just beyond the veil. See you then.